The Galactic Tribunal's verdict echoed through the crystalline chamber, as Ambassador Veltar pronounced the sentence with barely concealed satisfaction. Marcus Chen, human of Terra, designated Deathworld Class Duathine, you are hereby exiled to the uninhabitable moon of Kepler 442c for crimes against galactic peace. Marcus stood in his restraints, his weathered face impassive as the assembled representatives of 47 civilized worlds watched. The charges had been fabricated, of course. His only crime was refusing to hand over humanity's defensive technologies to the hegemony. But Earth was young in galactic politics, and humans were considered little more than violent primitives from a world so hostile that most species couldn't survive there unprotected. The moon you've chosen, Marcus said calmly. What's its designation? Veltar's tentacles writhed with amusement. Xerion Prime. Surface temperature varies from -60 to +40 Celsius. Toxic atmosphere. Frequent seismic activity. No indigenous life. You'll have basic survival equipment. Enough for perhaps a standard cycle before. The ambassador's translator rendered his gesture as a dismissive wave. Marcus smiled, and something in that expression made several delegates shift uncomfortably. Thank you for your generosity. 3 years later, Captain Zara Keth's scout ship dropped out of hyperspace near Xerion Prime, her sensors immediately detecting the impossible. Where there should have been nothing but barren rock and poisonous gas, her instruments showed massive artificial structures, energy signatures, and most shocking of all, dozens of ships in orbit. This has to be a malfunction, her co-pilot Jex muttered, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. The Deathworlder was sent here to die. But as they approached, the evidence became undeniable. Sprawling domed cities covered the moon's surface, connected by enclosed transport tubes that snaked across continents. Massive atmospheric processors belched clean air, while fusion plants powered vertical farms that stretched toward the stars. The orbital shipyards were already producing vessels that made hegemony designs look primitive. Incoming transmission, Jex announced, his voice tight with disbelief. Marcus Chen's face appeared on their screen, looking remarkably well for a dead man. Behind him, they could see a bustling control room, staffed by beings from dozens of different species. Welcome to the Free Republic of Xerion, Marcus said warmly. I assume the hegemony sent you to verify my demise? How? Zara whispered. This moon was uninhabitable. Marcus chuckled. You know what we call an uninhabitable world back on Earth? Tuesday. His expression grew more serious. But I didn't do this alone. Turns out, when you advertise a place as a death sentence, it attracts a very particular type of individual. Over the next hour, Marcus gave them a tour that defied everything they thought they knew about survival and civilization. The first arrivals had been desperate refugees, criminals fleeing hegemony justice, dissidents escaping political persecution, entire family groups seeking freedom from oppressive regimes. Most species would have died within days on Xerion Prime, but humans, Marcus explained, came from a world where everything was trying to kill them. They'd spent millennia learning to adapt, to overcome, to transform hostile environments into homes, and they'd brought that knowledge to Xerion Prime. The atmospheric processors weren't my idea, Marcus said as they walked through a bustling marketplace where a dozen species traded freely. That was Kayla, a Zephyrian engineer whose family was executed for questioning resource allocation. The fusion technology came from a Thorian physicist who'd been exiled for proving his government's energy policies were deliberately inefficient. Zara watched a human child, playing with young aliens of 3 different species, all of them breathing freely in the cleaned atmosphere. The hegemony said humans were too primitive for galactic civilization. They were half right, Marcus replied. We are primitive. We come from a world where cooperation meant survival, where innovation was the difference between life and death, where everyone, regardless of species or origin, had value because everyone had something to contribute. He gestured to the thriving city around them. These people didn't come here to serve an empire. They came here to build something better. In the distance, construction mechs were laying the foundation for another city dome. Ships arrived daily, bringing more refugees, more outcasts, more beings who'd been discarded by the neat, ordered, stagnant civilization of the hegemony. We've been monitoring hegemony communications, Marcus continued. 17 worlds have petitioned to join us. Entire populations are learning human survival techniques. Human engineering principles, human political philosophy. They're calling it the Deathworlder Revolution. Zara's communication device chimed with an urgent message from Hegemony Command, demanding an immediate report. She looked at the thriving city, at the hope in the faces around her, at the impossible kingdom built on a moon that should have been a tomb. "What should I tell them?" she asked. Marcus smiled, that same dangerous smile he'd worn in the tribunal chamber 3 years ago. "Tell them the Deathworlder is dead. Tell them Xerion Prime remains uninhabitable." He paused, looking out at the stars. "And tell them that sometimes when you try to bury someone, you forget to make sure they're not a seed." As their ship departed, Jex noticed Zara had set course not for hegemony space, but for the outer rim. "Where are we going?" "To find my sister," Zara replied. "She's been hiding from the hegemony for years. I think it's time she learned that there's finally a place in this galaxy where being different isn't a crime." Behind them, Xerion Prime continued its impossible rotation, a testament to the simple truth that had built Earth's greatest civilizations. When you give the discarded and desperate a chance to build something better, they don't just survive. They flourish.